Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Knatters Knits podcast. Today is Sunday, the 25th of October 2015. I was going to say 2013 then. Oh, I tell you, it's been one of those weeks, it really has. My name's Natalie, and I am on the internet everywhere as Knatters Knits. Particularly this week, you'll have seen me on Instagram rather than anywhere else, for a reason that I'll explain a little while later. So, how are you? How's your week been? Have you had a good week? I've had a strange one, really. I've been signed off work by the doctor with stress, and thanks to knitting I'm feeling quite a bit better, but I've still got a bit to go. So if this seems a bit manic this week, that's probably why. So what's been going on this week apart from that? Well, today is my parents' 50-something wedding anniversary. I'm not quite sure of the number. But happy wedding anniversary to my dad, even though Mum's not alive anymore. It's a really important day to me. Followed fairly recently, or not followed, but fairly recently, in the last week or so, it was my 31st wedding anniversary. And yeah, where does the time go? Where does it go? It's just, I can't believe how fast the time's gone. So, I should have been at Burscough Fibre Festival today, but I cancelled due to the stress. It was just too much for me, I'm afraid. So I'm really, really sorry for those of you that were hoping to see me there, but maybe next year. Right, so let's get straight on. You may remember, talking about finished objects now, this little beauty, which was the first wee Susan dress that I did. Made in Handspun, and the pattern's a free one on Raffle, and the back detail looks like this. Take that out of the way. Well, this week I completed the second one, and somebody's already put dibs on this one. No surprises there really. So this is the second one. There we go. See how that looks. That's it. There we are. She loves this one. So that's that one. I will be listing them in my Etsy shop fairly soon, but if anybody's interested, do send me a message and we'll see what we can do with those. So that's those two. The next thing I've finished is my Handspun Cow. Oops, I'm knocking everything off down here. And this, let's see if the colours. Looks like this. Rather nice. It's just a drop stitch pattern, and the dyeing was done by Sarah from Sarah's Texture Crafts. And there it is. Colours are not very true. Does that help? The lighting's not helping in here yet again today. But there we go. So that's that one. I was making a hat and scarf set, and this set has been, the hat particularly, has been almost finished 3 times, but I've only got that much to show for it. Which says a lot really about me, doesn't it? I wasn't happy, so I ripped it out, started again. So that's the 3rd time lucky hat, hopefully. We'll see what happens. The next thing I've got to show you, do you remember a little while ago I told you about the Spinners, Weavers and Dyers Guild challenge? We were given 3 different lots of fibre to do something with. And one of the things we were given were these curls, these locks. They were all plain. I've dyed them. They're a very deep, deep purpley colour. I don't know if you can see that very well as a colour. But there we go. Well, I dyed, there were 2 balls of yarn plus the locks. So what I've ended up making is this little dolly. The hairdo. A little bit like Frankenstein's bride. She's got got 2 arms and 2 legs, but the legs don't particularly go straight. So she will be my entry into the guild challenge for this year. Not brilliant, especially now I've seen one of the scarves that somebody made. They combined it with a bit of alpaca. Oh, it was gorgeous. It really was gorgeous. But anyway, that's my entry. Mainly because the locks reminded me of hair. So this little dolly got made. So that's her. Okay, so the other thing I've started, which I won't show on the podcast, just in case my daughter or her husband are watching, is Graham's Christmas present, is socks. I've also got another pair of socks on the needles, and I don't know if I showed you this yarn before or not. But being a real sucker for Instagram, a few weeks ago now, saw these mini skeins, and yes, they are that bright. In fact, the green looks a bit washed out. Let's see if I bring it any closer away. Yeah, they're brighter than that. Believe me, they're actually much more in your face. These look washed out in comparison. The colour that's missing is the pink, which is there. And again, it's much more neon than that. That looks washed out, really looks washed out. Right back, see what happens here. If you can see it very well here. No, it's still looking washed out. Anyway, that's the socks. So I'm making a pair of bed socks, and I can't make up my mind at the moment whether to do it as a stripe or just do it in huge colour sections and make them mismatching. We'll see about that one. So that's those. Today I'm drinking spicy chai from my favourite tea company with a tiny little bit of honey, no milk. And that's lovely. So that's that one. I haven't worked on the baby blanket at all this week. I just haven't been in the mood. But I have done a little bit on my large bedspread. It is slowly moving towards finishing, but it's taking a long time. What else have I been doing? I've been doing a lot of planning, which I'll tell you about in a minute. But I've also done a lot of thinking about wool, the wool trade, British heritage, and generally trying to support English, British projects. So with that in mind, I went onto the John Arbon website, and that's John Arbon Textiles. They have a mill down in Devon, because my family live down in Devon, so I've got a bit of a soft spot for Devon. So I went down on the website and looked, and you can actually join and become a friend of John Arbon Mills. That means you pay a small fee, you get a few goodies, but you become a friend for life, and with that you can get a discount and access to a secret part of their website. So of course I had to buy something. So I bought some fibre, and this is said fibre. Those of you who've seen my Instagram feed might have seen this week. It's called mulberry. It is red with a little bit of black in it, and the black is swartbles, or swartless. I don't know how you say it, but that's the fibre. And I'm spinning that to make myself a jumper, and I'll talk a bit more about that in a minute. I also bought some already spun yarn that's undyed called Exmoor Silken, which is Exmoor blue base, silk and alpaca. Lovely luxury base. And again, I'm thinking about making some sort of top with that, or possibly a baby blanket. I'm not sure, christening blanket or something like that. I can't make up. If I don't dye it, I'll make it into some sort of christening blanket. But if I do dye it, then it will become something for me, I'm sure. So that was that one. I bought a couple of project bags because I keep finding projects in carrier bags that get hidden in the bottom of my horrendous room. This room is my work room, and what you can't see here is bookcases. I've got patterns, books, my weighing scales, and all sorts of bits and pieces. Then I've got storage all to this side, bookcases up there behind where you're sat, more wool, lots of hand spun, lots of fibre, and lots of carrier bags, and I keep meaning to go through them, and this week I did do a little bit of that. I found projects I didn't even remember casting on, from yarn I didn't even remember having. Whoops. So I decided that I would buy a couple more project bags, because at least with project bags I keep them out so I can see them and they don't get mixed up, and if they're all individual I've got a rough idea of what's in the project bag. So the two bags that I bought this week are from FO and Dye. Ellie has made a new asserted effort, I suppose you'd want to call it, to make more bags, and she's relaunched her shop. It's now called Goth Heart Creations, and I've bought two bags from there. One's got owls on, which I'll show you when it comes, and the other one I can't quite remember now. This isn't good, is it? Okay, the other thing that I purchased was something, again I got sucked down a rabbit hole on Instagram. There's a company called twigandhorn.com. They're in the States, but they make this like a square ruler with a hole in the middle, and it's for measuring gauge. And as it's not something I do very often, I decided that I needed to make more of an effort, and then perhaps I wouldn't have had the same sort of fun and games as I've had this week, where I've ripped back so many projects and started again. So I bought myself one of the square rulers. But anyway, do go and have a look at their website. They don't know I'm making this podcast and mentioning them, so it's not that I'm recommending them because they've asked me to, it's just because I saw this product and really liked it, and I'll show it when it arrives. So in the planning stage, really, I've been thinking about what I'm going to be making, partly with this, once it's spun up. But let me just take it off the wheel. So there we go. You can see it's this beautiful red with black in it as well. It's actually, does it matter? Yeah. So that's that one. So I've been planning for that. Oh, I just dropped it on the floor. Never mind. And also the other jumper. So one of the things that I ended up doing was downloading an interweave magazine on knitting, because I couldn't get hold of the pattern any other way. And there's so many different lovely patterns in this particular issue of the magazine. But the one I've chosen is Alpaca Tunic by Deborah Newton. I'll put the link up in the show notes and try and put a picture up at the end of this to show you. But it does look really, really lovely. But my experience of trying to do a pattern this week means that I'm going to have to be a bit more with it before I can actually do that, because I tell you, anything but plain knitting this week, it's just got ripped back. So that's that really. It doesn't sound as if I've been doing an awful lot, but I have in the way of planning and thinking things through. So at the end of this episode, I'm going to put on a little bit of spinning, a little clip that I have, just for you to see really, and to talk you through what's called the drafting triangle, and about making sure that you don't get a huge chunk of really, really twisted fibre in your hands, Just a little tip really, it's not really a long tutorial, it's more of a tip than anything else. Projects that I need to get on with are my cardigan, which has been sat down here in my fondant fibre bag all week and not had any love at all. And that's my fondant fibre bag by Deb. And this cardigan, not my needle. It's a shame that I've stopped doing it because it has got quite a way. She says, holding it up the wrong way. So I need to get on with it really. Which is a nice, lovely brown cardigan. And will keep me very, very cosy at work or at home thinking about it. So that's something I need to crack on with. And that fibre is Woolrich Aran by Sirdar. Machine washable on a wool cycle. It's shade 317. 60% wool and 40% acrylic, so that should look quite nice. Keep me all toasty. So, what have I got coming up? Well, for the next few weeks, I'm going to be having a rest because, as you can probably tell by the bags under my eyes, the lines, I'm not really 100% at the moment, but I wanted to check in with you all just so you knew that I was still here and I'm really okay. I'm just a little bit stressed still. I'm still aiming to try and get to the Fleetwood Christmas Fair, which is at the North Euston Hotel on the 22nd of November, and that will be my last show for this year. Other than that, and my usual monthly Longridge one, I don't think I've got anything else particularly to tell you. I'm sorry it's a really, really short episode this week, although I know that somebody on YouTube did say they liked my podcast because it is short. What I'd like to know from you all is what you'd like to see in the podcast. Would you like to see a little bit of the area around about? Would you like a little tour of some of the places in North Lancashire? Would you like to know a bit more about Knatters Knits Wools, or about particular techniques like dyeing or spinning? I'm not a huge technical knitter. I like things that are simple, that show off the colours, as you've probably seen by things like the dress here. So if there's anything that you would like me to talk about, please do pop over to my Ravelry group, which is Knatters Knits, and Knatters is Knatters, knits spelt the usual way. Come and have a chat to me there. Let me know what you fancy. Would you be interested in doing a virtual knit night? Maybe one night during the week? Would you like to be able to sit and chat with other people in the comfort of your own home instead of going out, especially with it getting cold? And, well, it is here anyway, quite wintry. And the only reason I know that is we've been out and bought coal today, and I'm having a load of logs delivered this week, so I know that it's getting cold because we're making preparations for that log fire. And you can see a picture of that on Instagram, because I snuggled up to it last night while I was doing some knitting. So what would you like to see in the podcast? Do you want to know more about me, about my family? Would you like to know more about the area of North Lancashire where I live? What is it that interests you? Are you from the UK? Are you from somewhere else? Do come onto the Knatters Knits group and have a chat. Let me know. Would you like to do a knit along, or would you like us to join in with somebody else's knit along? Because there are quite a few going at the moment. There's quite a few sock knit alongs I notice on Ravelry, quite a few shawl knit alongs. So, what sort of knitting are you into? You probably gathered from what I do that I tend to look at the yarn and think, what could that be? What does it look like it wants to be? And usually the answer is something small, because I don't have a lot of time for when I'm working full time for anything else. So I shall leave you there. Thank you very much for taking the time again this week to come and see me. I hope you're all okay, and a huge thank you to everybody who's left a comment, who's subscribed. I really do appreciate it, and thank you very much indeed, and I shall see you all next week. Take care now. Bye. Just spinning a thread. I'm trying to show the whole idea that you pinch to prevent the twist from here going into this fibre, because otherwise you end up with a really nasty mess. And if anybody talks about a triangle, drafting triangle, it's the area from here to here, so it's that bit there. Just taking it slowly and steadily, pinching and allowing the twist as you move your fingers to move up with the fibre. Just like that. And the same applies to no matter how thick or how thin your thread is that you're making. And there you have it. You maintaining control and keeping your drafting triangle nice and open, with the fibre all loose, ready to be sucked in. And just allowing the fibre to go in as and when it wants.